Welcome to a Homekeepers special, Health Edition.
Hi, I'm Arthelene Rippy, and I ask you to join me for a few minutes as we offer some old and wonderful, yet new and improved information that could be a game changer when it comes to your health. Now, more than 15 years ago, when my daughter was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, I began to educate myself as much as possible for the battle ahead. As a television producer, I receive an abundance of books, many featuring the subjects of health and wellness. I began to diligently search those books for as much information as possible. And in this quest, I discovered Germany's Dr. Johanna Budwig, who at the turn of the century discovered that the combination of oil and protein served to protect the human blood cell. A few years later, Dr. John Young crossed my path. He was also familiar with the work of Dr. Budwig and began to incorporate her information into his own practice. His motto became, "Treat the cell, restore the body." Dr. Budwig's formula featured pouring oil over cottage cheese. Not too appetizing. However, utilizing Dr. Budwig's basic scientific discovery, Dr. Young created a product that delivers the oil-protein combination to the body more efficiently. He has included these products into his own practice, and the results have been remarkable. You will meet Dr. Young today, along with people whose lives have been dramatically changed for the better because of this old but new discovery. So get ready to be amazed. And by the way, my daughter is doing well, enjoying wonderful health, and I thank God for that.
Something old and wonderful has just become something new and improved. More than 4 decades have passed since the discovery of the miraculous healing combination of protein and flax oil. The legendary doctor and scientist Johanna Budwig discovered that this simple formula had a profound effect on blood cells vulnerable to disease. Since most chronic disease starts at the cellular level, many consider this a major scientific breakthrough. Enter Dr. John Young, founder of Young Foundational Health Center. Dr. Young's vast medical experience at home and abroad gives him an elevated status in the field of health today. Dr. Young reached a point of frustration in his career as the prevailing conventional wisdom in medicine was a tendency to just treat the symptom with medication, never getting to the root of the problem. This frustration led him to a detailed study of the work of Dr. Budwig. By taking this basic formula, Dr. Young added the powerful antioxidants of fruit of the spirit and essential minerals to establish the Young Power Shake. His goal was to rebuild his patient's overall health from the ground up, starting at the cellular level. Take a look at these inspiring statistics.
Hal J., age 56, suffered from neuropathy of the legs and feet, and after 7 weeks on the program, his symptoms have decreased drastically. Millicent M., age 67, was on several diabetes medications, and after 9 weeks, she was taken off all of her medication. Tamara S., age 71, had severe hypertension and was taken off all of her blood pressure medications after just 6 weeks.
These testimonies offer proof positive the value of this timeless formula. Isn't it time for you to live your life in better health? Just call that number on your screen and request this amazing old but new tried and true powerful health enhancer, the Young Power Shake. Call the number on the screen right now to request the Young Power Shake. For just $149.95, you will receive a month's supply of high-quality protein, the special blend of flax and fish oils, those all-important alkalizing minerals, and the amazing antioxidant mix of biblical ingredients, fruit of the spirit. Call now and receive free shipping on your monthly order. Start living your life in better health. Call now.
Well, in my practice of medicine, which I was doing out of residency, I just got a sense that, you know, we just kept giving more and more medications to people. And for every complaint, there was another drug. And after a while, I thought, I went into medicine to get people better, not just kind of prolong their road to death. And so people told me about some of these old guys and women Joanna Budwig and Cathcart and others. And I started reading them and things that they'd written, and I thought, wow, this is why I went into medicine, to get people better, to get to the root of the problem. And I read about the 1931 Nobel Prize in Medicine, which Budwig was part of Warburg and some others that won that, looking at the cell membrane. And the Germans' idea was if you get the cell membrane right, you're going to get the immune system right, and you're going to really help the body. It's kind of getting to the root of it. And when you do that, a lot of good things happen. And so I came across her, and I think she won about, or part of like 6 Nobel Prizes, 4 or 5 degrees, physics, biochemistry, chemistry. I mean, really, really smart woman, and made a big, big impact on my life, and really showed me what to do, because I wanted to know there's more to medicine than just giving out pills, and she was a big part of that. So Dr. Budwig was looking at cancer, and what they found out is if the oxygen concentration in a cell drops below 35%, a cell dies or turns cancerous within 2 cell generations. You know, that's, what, 85 years ago, never been disproven. And they used back then, they want to remake that cell membrane, like into a battery, a positive charge on the outside, a negative charge on the inside. So they needed to get more oil, these omega-3 oils, into the cell. But if you take an oil, it's very hard to absorb. And regular biochemistry tells you that. And so if you emulsify it, hide it in a protein, you can get it into the cell membrane. They use cottage cheese or quark, some other things. And we did that for a while, but we wanted patients to do this long term. And we heard from our patients that, listen, John, this shake makes us feel better, but it's just hard to do at long periods of time. So we actually called the Budwig Institute. She had died, but we called the Budwig Institute. And they said, there is a protein in the US that we like. We found it. And they said, if you use that instead of the cottage cheese, you have our blessing. So we used the oil that she liked, we used the protein that she liked, and it's worked very, very well for us.
The story of the John Hotchkiss family left me a bit speechless. It all began one morning when 2-year-old Joy was attempting to get out of bed, and she cried out to her daddy saying, "I can't walk." Those words began a journey into a long and painful nightmare for both parents and child. Now, just to add another twist to the story, Joy's mother is herself a pediatrician specializing in eye, ear, nose, and throat. Joy and her parents traveled a long and exhausting journey into the offices of specialists for children suffering with arthritis. The child endured endless prescriptions, shots, and infusions for 7 long years. Everything had been tried. Nothing had worked. Listen to Dr. Karen Hotchkiss describe that journey into despair, and also realizing all medical possibilities had turned into a dead-end street. But just about that time, John Hotchkiss met Dr. Young.
Fast forward a little bit, we went through 7 years of traditional medication, which
7 years.
Which for a child meant we were taking trips to a university about 2 hours away to get treatment. In between, we were on weekly injections. So here's my little child having to get shots every week. And at one point, her medication stopped working. I had no idea, but apparently after 4 or 5 years of Enbrel, which is what we were on, you can go through burnout, which means that class of medications completely stops working. And she was in an acute pain crisis. And when I say pain, I mean, she said to me, "Mom, my pain is a 27 out of 10. I mean, she was just screaming, could not get comfortable, even with prescription pain medication. She was absolutely miserable. So we tried the next class, and our rheumatologist said, "This is the last class. We have nothing else after this. Let's hope it works." And after the 4th injection, and the injections were a big deal. We had to go to an infusion center, and she had to sit with an IV and for an 8-hour injection.
I know what that is.
And she was having some side effects from the other medications because she was really on really high-dose steroids to try and bridge the gap. It was clearly not working, and we were beside ourselves. So my husband came home one day and said, "Hey, I hear something we should try." And at this point, traditional medicine was not working for us. And we were both very open-minded. He probably more so than I was. And my charge to him was, I will do anything you want me to do as long as it makes scientific sense.
Well, it did make scientific sense to Dr. Hotchkiss, and I asked her what happened. What happened?
Right, so I'm the skeptical scientist, so I have my journal out and I'm journaling every day exactly what she's eating and what's her pain, and poor thing, we badgered her to death every morning, every night, what's your pain, 10 out of 10, and we really went from a 10 out of 10, and Arthelene, I could not believe my eyes. Over 20 days, we went from a 10 out of 10 to 8 to 7s, we got some 6s, and before I knew it, we were a 0 out of 0.
In 20 days?
20 days. 20 days.
Oh my goodness.
And journaled every day of what we were doing. And it was amazing, and you could see her joint swelling reducing. I would check her flexibility of her joints. It was amazing. She went from a very stiff ankle to full flexion extension, which was absolutely amazing.
Amazing indeed. Dr. Hotchkiss now offers the Young Power Shake to her own patients.
As an ER doctor for a number of years, people would, all these medications they were on, and I knew they were interacting with each other. And then I was giving another drug to counteract the reaction from that drug, which is not a good idea. And I remember one lady coming in one day, a whole list, 26 different meds. And I said, oh, wow. And I'm going through, and she says, well, John, to be honest with you, I'm not taking any of them. And some of them were for diabetes and hypertension. And I said, well, why? John, I feel so great. When I'm on those drugs, I feel terrible. I'd rather live feeling great, and so I just stopped them. I just don't want to live feeling terrible, and I just don't want to do the drugs. And that got me thinking, I'm giving these prescriptions out left and right, and I'm hearing from these patients, but when I take these drugs, I don't feel real well. So that was the first thing that got me thinking, you know what, maybe I need to think about getting people off their drugs. When I first started out, the side effects really didn't bother me because I was really new and I followed what the AMA said. But and that's part of the idea about, I think it is a practice, and as you spend more time in medicine, you learn things. And I realized that those side effects can be deadly. And giving more medicines, there's always a cost to every medicine you take. There's a good and a bad, and you're trying to outweigh the bad. But over the last 12, 15 years, I tell you, I have just really become not so anti-medicine. I still love, listen, if you need antibiotics, I'm the first to write for them. If you need steroids, you're in a severe asthma attack, I'm right there with it. But I think that medicine should be used for the acute problem, but we're putting an acute drug on a chronic problem, and it doesn't work well in the long run. And as we've seen with diabetes, the more diabetic medicines you're on, the shorter your lifespan. I mean, there are consequences to long-term drug use. And I think one of the other ones is you're looking at people that are on antihistamines all the time, or sleep medications, or any of the Valium derivatives, a lot of the SSRIs for depression. And some interesting studies have come out, and where if you're on those more than 3.5 years, your rates of dementia go sky high. So for every drug, there's a cost. It may be right away where you could have a bad reaction, but it may be very good where it can save your life. I have no problem using a steroid for a short term, but using these drugs long term, there is a price to pay, and I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing more and more of my patients who have been on some of these drugs, and at 50, they're losing their mind. Things that years ago when I was a kid, grandpa's losing his mind, but he's 85 years of age. Well, now I'm starting to see that in the 50s, because we are so medicating everybody, and those medications, they do have a price to pay down the road.
Something old and wonderful has just become something new and improved. More than 4 decades have passed since the discovery of the miraculous healing combination of protein and flax oil. The legendary doctor and scientist Johanna Budwig discovered that this simple formula had a profound effect on blood cells vulnerable to disease. Since most chronic disease starts at the cellular level, many consider this a major scientific breakthrough. Enter Dr. John Young, founder of Young Foundational Health Center. Dr. Young's vast medical experience at home and abroad gives him an elevated status in the field of health today. Dr. Young reached a point of frustration in his career as the prevailing conventional wisdom in medicine was a tendency to just treat the symptom with medication, never getting to the root of the problem. This frustration led him to a detailed study of the work of Dr. Budwig. By taking this basic formula, Dr. Young added the powerful antioxidants of fruit of the spirit and essential minerals to establish the Young Power Shake. His goal was to rebuild his patient's overall health from the ground up, starting at the cellular level. Isn't it time for you to live your life in better health? Just call that number on your screen and request this amazing old but new tried and true powerful health enhancer, the Young Power Shake. Call the number on the screen right now to request the Young Power Shake. For just $149.95, you will receive a month's supply of high-quality protein, the special blend of flax and fish oils, those all-important alkalizing minerals, and the amazing antioxidant mix of biblical ingredients, fruit of the spirit. Call now and receive free shipping on your monthly order. Start living your life in better health. Call now.
Fred Habaska was a delightful guest who had quite a story because he was taking almost 20 different medications each day. Then one day he met Dr. Young, and that meeting forever changed his life. Fred brought a bag containing the great variety of pills he had been taking. Trust me, it was a show and tell demonstration I will never forget. Let's take a look at him. He brought his for show and tell here. Oh my goodness!
I brought all these things, this is sleeping pills. He gave it to me. It's a metformin.
What's that for?
Diabetes,
yeah.
500 milligram. I used to take 2,000 milligram a day, plus Anglaza.
What's that for?
Diabetes is 5 milligram a day. Thyroid medicine.
Thyroid?
Yes, ma'am. And blood pressure medicine, which is, I don't have a blood pressure medicine. They've been telling me.
What I love, big letters, may cause dizziness. Oh yeah, I want some of that.
And that cost me $260 traffic ticket.
Oh, really? Why? Because you were dizzy?
Because I took him, I didn't realize I'm gonna have a dizziness, and police officer stopped me. He said, first of all, you passed the traffic light. Second of all, you almost killed me.
Oh, $240?
$240 ticket. Put in my hand.
And it could have been a whole lot worse.
Could be.
Yeah.
I kill him or he kill me. You know. And this is my Lipitor.
And what do we do with
statin
it?
drug.
Statin.
For cholesterol.
Cholesterol.
You know that I'm almost speechless to see that. What would that group cost?
Well, some of it is generic, but I mean, Fred, how much were you spending a month?
I've been spending $200 and some with the insurance.
With the insurance?
With the insurance.
Fred was off all those medications within 3 or 4 months. He told me he quit smoking and enjoys a brand new energy.
Perhaps you're wondering exactly what is involved in putting the Young Power Shake together. Well, it couldn't be easier. Your order will arrive in a box containing 4 different items. In it, you will find 1 large container of the very finest whey protein, 1 bottle of beautiful golden organic flaxseed oil, 1 small bottle of balancing drops, 1 bottle of mineral-rich fruit of the spirit. You will find that a blender is the best way to assimilate these ingredients. Step 1, begin by using 6 to 8 ounces of almond milk or water. Step 2, add 1 scoop of protein, and by the way, our chocolate-flavored protein is also available. If allergic to milk, beef protein may be your choice, and if vegan, our pea protein is also available. Step 3, to these ingredients, add 10 drops of AB Balance, which serves to make the body more alkaline and less acidic. Step 4, now is the time to add 1 tablespoon of the golden organic flaxseed oil. Step 5, Now add 2 ounces of Fruit of the Spirit. Remember, you can fix the Young Power Shake any way you wish. Many of those who use this life-giving combination also add fruit, berries, or fresh greens such as spinach and kale, along with a few ice cubes. In other words, make it your way. Along with the aforementioned items, you will also receive a packet of complete instructions and detailed information which will answer any questions you might have. Now don't delay, call that number on your screen right now.
I was impressed and genuinely moved to meet Christy Harden, the mother of a son with Down syndrome. Christy was the most hands-on mom I've ever met. Determined to give her son the best possible quality of life, she had studied and educated herself about the nutrients her son might lack. When she learned about this remarkable shake, she immediately recognized an opportunity. I asked her if anything can be done medically for children with Down.
No, they did not. And as a mom, I've always sensed that his body was lacking something, but it was very minor, just so I knew that you could fix it. It was just finding what it was that he was missing. He was always sick, which they're prone to ear infections and sinus problems and things like that. So I knew that something in his immune system and things like that were not working properly.
Did he go to school? I know I guess there are degrees with the Down syndrome.
Yes, we're very blessed. He's, despite being, sick with colds and things like that, he is very healthy. We never had any of the heart issues or some of the other illnesses that come along with Down syndrome. We've been very fortunate on that level.
And what about the ability to learn?
That was our area of struggle. We always knew Sean would be a little bit behind in learning. I never thought Sean would be able to write. I always figured that we would have to go into technology to help him write. We still are struggling with speech, but it's actually coming. His comprehension has just multiplied. Before it would take us weeks to do a 1-step direction, he's doing 3-step directions. When you can just tell him to do something and he's off, he just does it.
And that has, since he has taken it, you've seen like a giant step of improvement? Is that a way to say it?
Yes, my husband and I were actually talking about it last night, and we were trying to figure out, what part of the shake? We do different supplements, and like John said, with a child, it's really important that you start with just the foundation and having good, put the protein back in their bodies. Children with Down syndrome lack amino acids and certain things, so you have to add a few things to the shakes as throughout the day. So Sean takes 2 shakes a day. We do the Fruit of the Spirit first thing in the morning. Then he gets all his vegetables and vitamins, and I smuggle that into his apple juice sip up.
Sneaky mom.
And he has no idea, and so he drinks that right down. So then that gives him all his fruits and vegetables.
I then asked Christy if the improvements included his school assignments.
I have not told any of his teachers in the beginning what we were doing, because I wanted Sean to be the example. I had no idea if it was going to work. I didn't want the teachers to look at us and say, oh, well, let's wait and see if something happens. I wanted Sean, as always, to be the example of showing something.
Proof in the pudding,
that's
so
right.
to speak.
And so his IEP, they sat down, they opened it up, they said,
what's that?
Well, it's a special education plan, an individualized educational plan that each child has with the special needs. And they opened it up and they said, do we have the right child? Because his progress was so dramatic. And it's even more dramatic this year versus even when we first did the IEPs.
Girl, you're giving me goosebumps. I want you to know that. As a longtime television host, I've met people from all walks of life, but few have touched my heart like Brian DeVito. His medical history of years and years of prescription drugs and multiple surgeries left me wondering how the human body could sustain all he has been through. I asked him about the diagnosis, the treatments, and how many surgeries he had had.
It was a roundabout diagnosis. It took him a while to land on. I was originally diagnosed as ulcerative colitis. And then after those therapies didn't work, they re-diagnosed me as Crohn's and started treating it like that. I seemed to respond a little bit better. I say a little bit better because I don't think anything really ever worked. For about 16 years, I've been in and out of the hospital. I've had over 30 surgeries. That was the answer for most of everything, was to cut. The medications, at one point I was on 20 pills a day when I was first diagnosed.
20 pills a day?
Yes, to get it under control. I lost track, to be honest. I know it's over 30. It started with a full colectomy when I was younger. I was completely afraid of the surgery. I did not want the surgery.
What is a colectomy?
What they did is they removed my entire colon, all my large intestines, as a solution to how bad my disease was. At one point, I was diagnosed with toxic megacolon, which was, I was told was the technical term. There was one of the physicians I saw told me he had been practicing for about 30 years and he could count on one hand how many times that diagnosis he had given out. So my colon had swollen to about over a foot in diameter. It was incredibly painful. And that was the only answer, was the surgery. I wasn't responding to any of the treatment. It just wasn't enough for the medicine. So after many years of going through this cycle and the development of the biologic medications, Remicade, Humira, Cimzia, those kinds of things, I was on Remicade for a while, seemed to respond well to it here and there. I'd get it every 3 months or so, and it seemed to work for a little while, and then one day it just quit.
Brian heard about Dr. Young, and as they say, the rest is history. And you might also add miraculous. I asked him about the difference since meeting Dr. Young and taking the Young Power Shake.
The difference between then and now is night and day. And I really think that Dr. Young is more modern medicine than modern medicine gets credit for.
That's a good thought, yeah.
Because to me, the old mentality of just throwing scripts until it sticks to treat the symptoms is just, it's a waste of both the physician's and the patient's time. I mean, the patient's not going to feel good, and the physician's just, he's not really solving a problem. He's just kind of treating the symptoms.
Time will not permit more testimonies, but we have many more. However, I hope we've given you an overall view of this wonderful, old, but new and improved product. Perhaps when you watch a program like this, you wonder, does that host actually use the product? I'm so glad you asked. I'm the mother of 2, grandmother of 5, and great-grandmother of 9. Here's a picture I can show you of my big family. I've taken this wonderful shake each and every morning for several years. I load mine up with lots of fresh berries, and I can assure you my day would be incomplete without it.